Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Thrivalist Manifesto. We are very excited about this evening's podcast. You are on with Dr. G and Ben V, and tonight's guest is Bill Romanowski. A little bit about Bill for those of you that are not sports fans. Bill is a 16-year NFL veteran. He played for San Francisco, Philadelphia, Denver, and Oakland. He is probably one of the most well-known defensive players to play the game. He was selected to 2 Pro Bowls. I believe he played in 5 Super Bowls, so correct me. What was most impressive about me looking at, because I've been fortunate to work with Bill and know him for a while, but what impressed me the most for him was he had the record for the amount of games played consecutively, and held that record till 2003, and that was 243 consecutive games. In addition to that, Bill is a business owner. He owns a business called Nutrition 53, which is a performance nutrition supplementation company, and as well as that, he's been in several movies, Get Smart and The Longest Yards remake, and he's also a color commentator for the Oakland Raiders. So welcome, Bill, to the Thrivalist Manifesto. Thank you so much for being our guest this evening.
You got it, guys. Great to be on.
Thank you, Bill. So one of the reasons why I was excited about tonight's podcast, and so is Dr. G, was because, the premise of this podcast is to really show people in all walks of life, whether it be athletes, academics, medical professionals, scientists, people that are really involved in thriving through human performance. So people that use various ways to enhance their human performance and increase the ability for them to thrive either on the playing field or in their profession. And I've known Bill for a long time, and what impressed me the most, 16-year NFL career, played with, San Francisco, played with Denver, played with Oakland, played with Philly, 2 Pro Bowls. And what, as I said before, what impressed me the most was the record for consecutive games. And for the longest time since I've known Bill, he's had a voracious appetite for anything that improves performance, anything that's able to give him an edge. And it didn't matter what that was, whether it was a particular type of treatment, whether it was a particular type of recovery, nutritionally, performance-wise, on and off the field, anything that would give him an edge. And he's one of the few individuals that's carried that over now post athletic career. So we're very excited to talk about some of these things, and that's really the premise of this podcast, is to show how individuals, whether athletes or not, use different aspects of human performance to allow them to thrive in their everyday life. So without further ado, Bill, thank you again. I'm sorry about the little glitch in the audio, but thanks again for coming on this evening. And we want to just kind of start off by, telling us when you first got interested in just what we call alternative ways of improving performance.
Well, I think it started when I became a rookie in the National Football League, and I was introduced to a German massage therapist named Udo Miguel. Mm-hmm. And he worked on soccer teams and hockey teams in Germany. And he told me at this event, he said, "How often do you get a massage?" I said, "I don't know. I think I've had maybe 2 in my lifetime." He mm-hmm. said, "That's not good. German athletes get massage every day. What's wrong with you?" And literally I said, okay, well, I'll give you a shot. Show me what you can do. And I think that kind of spurred it on. And from there, I started to realize that the better I took care of my body, the better I performed, the more money I made, the more I was able to play the game that I loved longer. And I finally realized that I've got one body. And if I don't take good care of this body, number one, I'm going to be broken down when I leave the game, which I don't want that to happen. And I won't be able to play that long, which this is what I love to do. So, one thing led to another, from chiropractic to acupuncture to hyperbaric chambers to vitamin IV drips to, you name it. I've been very, very extreme with, I had massage therapists and chiropractors all over the country that I used. And then I got turned on to a guy, Mark Lindsay, who, we both know really well. And that kind of rocked my world in a whole nother realm, as far as having a therapist like him every day in my life is what I wanted, because it just dialed everything up a notch. So the quest it's like I could never, ever, stop. It's like I was always looking for the next greatest thing that could help me perform, heal, recover, so I could do it again the next day even harder.
Right. Understood. And Bill, if you took 100% of the NFL players, what percentage would you say when you were playing and currently have that keen awareness of how important that attention to their body and preparation is?
Well, I know this. I know there was nobody that did it like I did it. And when I say to all the extremes, there were a lot of guys that worked really hard. And, the Jerry Rices of the world, the way they would condition and run hills and stuff like that. But nobody looked at every facet of the game, from the nutritional piece, the structure piece, the training piece, the emotional piece, and putting all of those together, working with the best track coaches in the world, the best massage therapists, the best chiropractors, acupuncturists, and finding all the top people in the world, the best nutritionists, the best scientists. And I had this way that I could take all this information and figure out what I needed and when I needed it. Right.
Understood. Yeah, it sounds like you figured out a couple of things right away, that there was more to it than just training, number one, and playing, and that you had to educate yourself in any facet that you could. And that by you doing that, it would translate to you playing longer and making more money.
Yeah, and, it happened this way. I got traded from San Francisco to Philadelphia after my 6th season. And I soon realized that was a big wake-up call for me. And I knew that I needed to take things to another level, because what I saw out on the field, I didn't like it. The film study that I would do, it's like I felt like I was losing a step. So that's when I was introduced to Remy Korchemny, a world-renowned Russian track coach, and soon after that, I had another track coach, Randy Huntington, and then Dan Paff. So I have a number of different trainers that I worked with that I always had something to dial up or change that was just what I needed at the time.
Understood. And at what point did you realize that the importance of nutrition and recovery? Was that early on as well? Or is that with the massage therapist as well?
You know what? It took me a while. And I got dialed in when I was in Denver. I got introduced to EAS and Bill Phillips. So I learned some of the macro stuff from him. Then I got turned on to a functional medicine doctor, Dr. Dean Rafflock out of Boulder.
Right.
He brought functional medicine, excuse me, to the table, where he was also an herbologist. He was he had a doctorate in nutrition. He was a chiropractor. He had so many different talents. And he dialed in so many different things from me, from my immune system to my hormones to everything, and supported it with nutrition and herbs all along, my time when I was in Denver. And I learned so much from him. And then it's like everything just got more detailed and more intense as the years went on.
And you kept feeling better and better and better as you got older as an athlete and more seasoned as a player, correct?
Oh, yeah. And when I was 37, I was running 4.4 in a 40 at 245 pounds.
That's impressive by any standard. Never mind that at that age with that many years in the NFL under your belt already.
And I was probably 6% body fat. So, I was lean, I was strong, I was fast, explosive. But what finally gave out on me was my head. I had 20 documented concussions, and I got to the point where, I just couldn't take any more blows.
Right. Unfortunately, we can get into a little bit more of the concussions in the NFL and with athletes. You found out and you lasted that long because of what you were doing. But go ahead, Doc. What were you going to ask?
No, I was just going to say, Bill, you held that record for the most consecutive games played, and you held that record till 2006. Are you aware of the guy who broke that record and who he was?
Yeah, as a linebacker who played. He played in Buffalo, and he was playing with the Redskins when he broke it. But here is the deal: I played in 28 postseason games.
Right.
I played almost 2 more years.
Right.
Yeah, I think when we look up who broke the record first, it was actually a punter. so that's interesting, just because you're a linebacker. Clearly, everybody knows the level of impact and contact that a linebacker has compared to a punter. So it's no small feat. That is an amazing statistic from an injury standpoint in a sport where not only concussion, but every other injury is so prevalent. So that's really amazing. Of all the things that you've done, the nutritional component, the training, the coaches, it seems like you're very coachable, and you sought out the right coaches, the functional medicine, everything you've done. Is there any one that stands out as being the indispensable component that every athlete really needs to take a harder look at?
I think for me, it was training on the track. I think if I had one thing, if I could only pick one thing that I had to do, and it would have to be, the strength goes along with it, but, it would be, because the game is about speed.
Yeah.
And I was fast when I came into the league, and I got faster as I got older. and I got faster because I ran fast every day. Excuse me.
Right.
A lot of people would say, well, how do you get faster? And I'd tell them, I'd say, run fast.
Right.
And, they'd look at me like, what do you mean? And I'd say, run fast every day. And for me, the fastest men in the world were track athletes. So for me, it was like, common sense.
Yep.
Why don't I train with the fastest men in the world? And that's what and women. I trained with, track, men and women track athletes, and had a ball doing it, and just loved the way they approached speed and technique on what it takes to get your body to run fast.
Yeah, for our listeners that don't understand or know much about track and field, it is considered amongst sports scientists as the mother of all sports. So it's the foundational sport for all other sports. You have to learn how to run. And the really good track coaches that Bill has mentioned that he worked with, I mean, it's a different approach from everything from warm-up to recovery and technique. So it's a completely different type of training, but that is a great training for any athlete that has to run. Am I correct, Bill?
Absolutely. And see, the reason why I had such respect for Olympic athletes, is a split second is the difference between making an Olympic team or not making it at all. And when I say the NFL are dinosaurs, they are dinosaurs when it comes to their training compared to the way Olympians train. Because every aspect of what they do, from their diet to their supplementation, every aspect gets really dialed in. And that's where I learned the attention to detail of how to really take care of all aspects of being an athlete.
Yeah. There's a concept that I like to push my athletes to understand, and that Bill is talking about here, that is a proactive approach versus a reactive approach. And in North America, the issue especially in our professional sports, is that, guys will go see the therapist or the team chiro, or they'll concern themselves when they're already hurt. And sometimes that's too late. So, what Bill is talking about is having a plan. And you'd be surprised at how many teams and players don't have a plan. Am I right, Bill?
Yeah, no, it is right. And, the better you can plan it out and have a strategy and cover all aspects of it. And it's hard because there's not a lot of people out there that have that knowledge. So I had to incorporate a lot of different experts, and I used to spend, $250,000 to $300,000 a year on my body just to, on experts and nutrition and everything, just taking care of myself.
I can't let that go. That is probably one of the most profound statements I've ever heard from an athlete in my life. It seems like, Bill, you were a part of an elite team, championship team, 5 Super Bowls. What you did was you actually assembled your own team around yourself. You built a team around yourself. You were the leader of that team. You were the focus of that team. But those team members were your nutritionists, your chiropractors, your track and field coaches, your massage therapists. I mean, and that's something I think we shouldn't underestimate. Now, not everybody has that kind of money in their career to assemble that team. I don't think you necessarily have to, but that principle of assembling your team for your body, for your health is priceless.
Well, for me, Doc, it was, this is what I love to do. And until I started really learning this stuff, my body was starting to break down. And, because of that, I was forced to start dialing in, all these different things to take care of myself. And it really came down to this. I was getting paid handsomely, but, that was a big chunk of my salary would go towards taking care of myself. And I just knew that not only was I going to play longer, but when I did get finished playing, I was going to have better quality of life because of how well I took care of myself.
Great. Amen on that one. And what the audience has to understand is that, again, I repeat, Bill had a 16-year career. And the average career in the NFL, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, but it's plus or minus 3 years. So you had... Yeah,
it's like 2.7.
There you go.
For starters, it's like 6.
Okay.
And I played 16, so...
Yeah.
I beat the odds.
Yeah, exactly so. By quite a bit, and that not only translates to a longer playing career and more compensation, but as Bill, put it, like he was thinking about the quality of his life after football. And when it comes to contact sports, there's not too many players that are thinking that far ahead, and that's a shame, but that's the way you thrive. You have to think that far ahead. And so it's really important to understand those two statements. So Bill, are there any players that stand out now in the NFL that you say, wow, that guy's got it together and he's doing the right thing, and you can tell?
And I think there's certain kids, there's some guys out there that have access to, some good trainers. And here's another, specific ones that are doing everything that I was doing. No, there's still nobody taking it to the level I took it to. But because the money is getting so out of control, it's forcing guys to really look and pay for top-notch people that can help them reach, new levels of peak performance.
Right.
Bill, was there resistance from the management and the coaching structure to you stepping outside of the team in search of alternatives?
There was no resistance from the coaches, and management. There was resistance from the trainers and from the strength coaches. Because I would go in with my own workout plans. I would do my own speed workouts. And, I was fortunate in Denver. I had a lot of clout with Mike Shanahan. So, there were years when he allowed me to bring in these specialists to not only help me, but to help the team too. And I remember when I first got to Denver, I spent like, I don't know, 25 grand on new equipment for the weight room because I didn't like the equipment they had. And then, then there was a guy, Greg Roscoff, who I paid him 50 grand that first year. And I knew I was going to be taken care of, but I knew I was only as strong as my weakest link. And if the rest of the team was not healthy, we weren't going to be as good. So I would also try to help my teammates. And, along the way, there was resistance in the training room and with the strength coaches.
Right. That still exists today. Even with all the good information out there, that's the biggest hurdle to cross is the medical staff and the strength and conditioning staff when you want to bring something that pushes them out of their comfort zone a little bit or that they don't know about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Say Bill, as far as the being an athlete, now you're 50 plus years old, and do you still consider yourself an athlete? Do you still train your body in any way that resembles what you were doing as a?
I train every day, but where my focus is my focus is around body fat, burning body fat, keeping inflammation low. I work out every day, and I swim a lot. Love the water. I work out in the weight room every other day. I like to ride my bike. A lot less impact than I used to have. But when my daughter's home for the summer, I will train on the track with her. And I love going back out there. But my training is a lot different, but it's still pretty intense.
And what would you say is the number one contributor to reducing inflammation? And let me also preface that by asking, do you find that reducing inflammation has an impact on the symptoms of the concussions that you experience? Do you feel your brain functions better?
Absolutely. So, for me, ways of getting rid of inflammation, I get rid of inflammation with using water, with using sauna. I'm in a sauna, almost every day. So I have different routines I do where I'll go 15 minutes on, 3-minute cold shower, 15 minutes on, 3-minute cold shower. I do that 3 times. Or I'll go a half hour straight and then right into a cold shower. And that, I really like what that does to my body. Then, comes down to eating, pretty much a paleo diet is what I eat. And my supplementation is all about, getting rid of inflammation. I probably down somewhere around 20 grams of vitamin C a day. I'm big on turmeric. I do 8 to 10 grams of omega-3s a day. So there's a lot of Wobenzyme is another supplement I take. I also take Relief One is something that I do with Nutrition 53. Something for collagen, I use vitamin C, proline, and lysine. So I have a number of different formulas that are really good for inflammation.
I love that you just said that you take 8 to 10 grams of omega-3. Very few people understand that the how much omega-3 is enough. And I've even heard other athletic coaches and trainers using upwards of 40 grams of omega-3. And the research is really on the research for the everyday person is really at like 3 grams. But using 8 to 10 grams, it just takes it to a whole other level from an inflammation standpoint. That's very impressive.
Well, a quick story about Bill is I think that Bill, Mark Lindsay, and I were the ones that talked to you a little bit about the dry sauna and heat shock proteins and the effects on your biochemistry. And just to give you an idea of how dedicated and disciplined Bill is, the last time I saw him in New York, he's like, yeah, I installed a sauna and I've done it 21 days in a row. So that's the kind of discipline that we're talking about, and the results show. But it's impressive the toolbox that we're dealing with here and the amount of tools that are in the toolbox.
Then I also will do a weekly IV drip where I get 50 to 75 grams of vitamin C in a drip with glutathione and a bunch of other nice, it's a nice vitamin and mineral cocktail, based on kind of how I'm feeling for the week. So,
Bill, I'm sorry, Ben. I just wanted to ask Bill, as far as the concussions that you feel really was what forced you to exit the NFL, are there effects of that you still feel today? And is it a daily battle that you're dealing with?
I think I'm on top of it. I really do. And I feel really good. And I'll have to say, one of the things I learned from Ben is Eldoa. And there's this one move, and I don't know what you call it, but you rock on the top of your head. And Ben would know the move, but I added that, and then by getting in the sauna on a daily basis, the research out of Finland shows that the difference between getting in the sauna once or twice a week versus 5 to 7 times a week, you have a 66 less chance of coming down with Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm. Just goes to show how important it is to know the dose. And
then I've done over 80 bouts in a hyperbaric chamber to help my brain.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. I did 2 bouts of 40 treatments.
Mm. Yeah. So for the audience, Bill's approach is really emphasizing what we call the 3 prongs that we address, Dr. G and I address. One is the biochemical. Obviously, when it comes to concussions, that's one of the most important things, and he's addressing that with his nutrition and his supplementation to keep inflammation down. And the second is the treatment and the recovery, which he's addressing with IV soft tissue treatment and hyperbaric chamber. And then the mechanical, which we talk about, he mentioned Eldoa, which is a series of postures that, Bill goes through to decoapt his spine. But more importantly, the move that he was referring to, which was proprioception, what you're doing is you're putting new software into the cerebellum, which is the hard drive. So he's doing everything that he possibly can to upregulate the function of his brain every day.
To say the least.
And then,
go ahead, Bill.
And then I have a supplement. What got me into the supplement industry is, I formulated a supplement and worked with a world-renowned scientist to try to hit every pathway in the brain. And I came up with a formula, and it took me 2 years to get it dialed in. So I was basically, a human guinea pig with utilizing all these neuronutrients. And I finally came up with, a formula that I could handle every day and that actually tasted decent. And I ended up calling it Neuro 1. And that is actually why I started my company, because the one thing that drives your whole body is your brain. And I'm like, you have all these guys that will take protein for their muscles, and they'll take multivitamins, they'll take all these things, but why aren't people fueling their brain, which runs everything?
Absolutely.
Right.
I felt like everything was kind of backwards. That's right. What people ought to start with, is taking care of their brain, and then, take care of the rest of the body.
And for the audience, the Neuro 1 not only tastes really well, but you get The best way to describe it is that you feel really, really sharp, and you feel sort of really happy. It's a combination of feeling sharp and happy for about 3 to 4 hours after you take it. And it tastes good, unlike a lot of the brain products that are out there that taste pretty horrible. Yeah.
The Neuro one is a powder, correct? Is that something you would put in
It is.
Drink?
Yes. Yeah, you mix it in water, hot water, put it in coffee, and it tastes really good. And I've been taking it once to twice a day, since I developed it in 2000. I developed it in 2005 and started the company in 2007.
Wow. And for everybody out there, that's nutrition53.com.
Correct.
And there's a bunch of products that are on there. It seems like Neuro One is the one you're most proud of. It seems like it was an early thing that you had a lot to do with. And I think this is something. Have you been able to share this with any of your colleagues from the NFL, the ones who maybe?
Oh yeah, I take care of a lot of guys in the NFL.
Great.
I use a sleep product too for the audience, and the sleep product is fantastic. It works really well. You get a much deeper sleep, and you don't wake up groggy like some of the other products that are out there. You wake up pretty sharp. So Bill, a quick question: If Dr. G and I were to say, "Okay, Bill, here's a couple of $1 billion. We want to buy a team tomorrow," and we were able to purchase a team, what would you do differently from a performance standpoint?
I would implement every single thing that I did when I played, and I would have a team of experts, and every aspect of what a player goes through, from everything that goes in their mouth, from a macro standpoint, from food they eat to the supplements they eat, their blood work, the amount of water they drink. They would be, they would have a massage therapist touch their tissue every day, chiropractic every day if they needed it. It would be sauna, it'd be hyperbarics if they need it, IV therapy, needling, all dictated by blood work based on any kind of deficiencies they have. And they would be monitored, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, based on a set of goals that not only they have, but, the team has for them.
Yeah. So it sounds like it would be an incredibly precise, subjective approach to the player's health and performance, as opposed to what we generally see now, which is kind of a one-size-fits-all in most pro sports. Is that correct?
Not yeah, and then what I would also have every position would have their own strength coach, and maybe even two, depending on the position. Every time they go in the weight room, they would be, it's almost like they'd have their own personal trainer with them. And that communication would be directly correlated and talked directly to their position coach to make sure they're working on, handling any kind of weaknesses. So my mind just goes kind of crazy, and I just think how much greater it can still get.
Yeah.
That hypothetical team you just created would be the greatest team to play for. I mean, think about it. If you offered all of that, just again, this is based on what works. This is based on something that Bill has seen in his own career, in himself and his players around him, what works, what doesn't work, and being holistic. I mean, think about the approach here. You got everything incorporated. It's not like my only advice is coming from the orthopedic surgeon, and then when something breaks, they're going to have to fix it surgically. We're talking about the software. We're talking about the brain that runs the rest of the systems, and paying attention to that. And in this world of concussion, being at the top of everybody's thought process, to not have a neurochemical approach to protecting these brains is insane. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's one of. Go ahead, Bill. I'm sorry.
No, we would. I really do believe that concussions can be taken care of. It just there has to be a more progressive approach to it, and it's a situation where from chiropractic to hyperbaric oxygen. There's a guy out of New Orleans, Dr. Paul Harch, who's one of the best in the world with hyperbarics. One treatment in a hyperbaric chamber after a concussion can literally reset the brain, get all the inflammation out, and then you go in with chiropractic and, dial in the diet and keep the inflammation low with IVs and things like that. And, because you're never going to get concussions out of football, but the better you can address them when they happen, the better off you'll be.
Yeah, Bill, that's something that Dr. G and I speak about all the time when we lecture, but it's misunderstood. The public, and even in pro sports, they're under the impression that what does the damage is that one big hit, and it's not. It's that repetitive trauma that you don't have any outward symptoms that you're accumulating, but that you're not really doing anything to kind of reverse it, which is what you're saying. Like if every player that you finish the game on a Sunday, and on a Sunday night or a Monday you were in the chamber and you were getting treated and you were getting an IV, we would probably see a huge decline in the damage being done to these players.
Absolutely. No, it would be it'd be a total game changer.
Yeah.
Say, Bill, my colleagues and I had written a paper. It's like a 40-page review on neuroinflammation in persistent post-concussion syndrome. And I can tell you the ingredients in Neuro 1 has almost every single component that we recommend out of that paper. Neuro 1.
Oh, no kidding.
I was just looking at the ingredient list, and you have huperzine A, vinpocetine, acetyl-L-carnitine. And the list is a lot longer than that. So I do want to get our listeners to really pay attention to that. I would say Neuro 1 would be a wonderful protective, preseason, during the season protection against injury, preparing yourself for what, the statistics show that high school football players are going to get a concussion this season. It's going to happen. A significant number of them are not going to be reported. Being metabolically flexible is really important. And it's this kind of nutrition that I think contributes to that.
Yeah. Well, it's been a labor of love for me, and it's still new. These neuronutrients and things like that for the brain is still a new frontier. And, the more these products get out there, the more people will realize what a difference they can make, in people's lives and, athletes' lives.
So Bill, now you're in a different stage in your life. We talked a little bit about your training routine, right now being a retired ball player and being over 50. what are some things you do for your professional life? In other words, now, what is your focus on when it comes to your career? Now you're an entrepreneur, you have a nutrition company. What are some of your daily practices to kind of keep you performing at a high level in business?
Well, I think, it starts every morning with meditation. And my meditation is, it starts with what do I want to accomplish for the day? So I start with, I kind of take in the environment, and my meditation's 10 to 15 minutes. And then I take in and say the many things I'm grateful for. And then I end my meditation with 3 things I want to accomplish that would make it a great day. So that's how my day starts. And then when I get to the office, to me, business is no different than, playing sports. You have to have great players in sports. Well, in business, you have to have great people. And you got to treat them well, and you got to train them well, and you got to let them do their job. And, show appreciation when they do a good job. And you got to try to pay them well. And balancing all that out is, not easy at times. But, it's something, when you run a business, you realize this, you have to solve problems. And that's really what I do. I just solve problems all day.
Mm-hmm. Critical
and
thinking.
No different than when I played. It's always based on goals. And I'm very big on goal setting. Daily, weekly, monthly, yearly goals is what I live by.
And just from my observation, just for the audience and to kind of further on Steve's question, Bill reads voraciously. He reads every day, and he mentioned it, but it's not a joke. He trains almost every day. That's not to say that he is in a weight room or he's putting himself through an intense workout, but he moves every day. And I think the combination of movement and also, engaging his brain in meditation as well as reading and learning, really, would you say, Bill, that helps you to thrive in business?
Oh, absolutely. The book I'm reading now is Tools of Titans by Tim Ferris. Great book by, billionaires and, different, trendsetters, all around the world, and a lot of really good information. So, as you said, I read every day, and I always want to learn and improve and get better. I had a coach, Mike Shanahan, that would say, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. There is no in between. I always want to be getting better.
Right. My dad used to say, if you're going to get involved in something, then you better be the smartest guy in the room. So don't forget that. You better be the smartest guy in the room. And that's sometimes hard, but that means learning.
Yeah.
So Bill, if we may, because we've already taken up a lot of your time, what advice would you have for not just young players coming up in any sport, but just, let's say, a young entrepreneur? What advice would you have for our listeners to say, you want to practice these 3 to 5 things if you want to thrive in whatever you do, whether they be sports or business or whatever your passion is?
Well, number 1, I would say work out every day. Try to keep your body fat 12 or below, because to me it's not about weight loss, it's about body fat. so you want to stay lean. Meditation is, I think, absolutely imperative. You got to have balance, and you got to love what you do. I love supplementation. I love taking things and knowing that they will have an effect on my body and make me better, whether it be in the weight room, whether it be in the boardroom, whether it be in the bedroom, wherever it be. I want to be getting better. And like I just said, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. So I like getting better.
Well, Dr. G, do you have any final questions for Bill?
I do. I have one question, Bill, because we didn't touch on your movie career. First of all, do you intend to take that a little bit further? And second, what's your favorite movie?
The favorite movie I did was The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler, and had a blast doing that. And one thing I realized about Adam Sandler, he's driven, he's smart, he takes care of his people. He is a great guy, and, you know, just a great guy to be around. So that was one of the favorite projects that I was a part of, because it was like being in the locker room every day with all the guys that we did the film with. And it's just a lot of great people that worked really hard. And, you know, do I look, you know, do I want to keep doing that? You know, it's been a couple years since I've done a movie project. I enjoy it. But right now, my real passion is making people better with, you know, great nutrition products. And I love that. And I love teaching people how to get better and how to make themselves better, their mind better, their body leaner, stronger, sleeping better, and all of those things. So I eat, breathe, live that every day, and I love sharing that to the world.
Fantastic. My final question: alive or not alive? If you had one person that you could interview, Bill, who would it be?
One person that I would like to interview. Probably. He's probably. Who would I? Wow, you stumped me here.
Did I? You don't have to answer it now. We're going to interview you again, buddy. There's no question, because
you know
yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I think if I had a chance to talk with someone for an afternoon, I wish I could talk to Albert Einstein.
All right. Fantastic. That show on Netflix, Genius, is awesome, Bill. Check it out. I just plugged them, but yeah, check it out. It's really good. It's on his life.
We'll do that.
Yeah, definitely. For me, it's Muhammad Ali. And for you, Doc?
For me, who would I like to interview?
Yeah.
Man, I have to go back real far. One of my ancestors. I'd have to go back to Aristotle.
All right. Okay. That's good, man.
I need him to teach me a little bit more about how to think properly. I think he was the greatest thinker of all time.
Well, Bill, I just want to, I really want to thank you, because, the conversation that we had is in a nutshell, it's really what this podcast is all about. It's all about thriving in whatever your passion is, whether it's within sports or outside of sports, and what can you do to make yourself better? And you covered all of that, and you live it, you breathe it, and, kudos to you, and we, only many thanks from here, because this was a wonderful interview. Thank you very much.
You got it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it, and look forward to the next time.
Perfect. For our audience, nutrition53.com. Thanks, and this has been another episode of the Thrivalist Manifesto.